Hi guys, welcome and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are well and I hope you guys are staying safe. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make this gorgeous dress that I wore to the Brits Award. And in case you don't know, I went to the Brits Award 2023 because YouTube invited me. And when YouTube invites you somewhere, you say where and when and you show up. And of course, I had to make my own dress. So I went ahead to get some appliques, I went ahead to get the fabric and I started to sew my dress. A huge shout out to the subscriber of the week, and that is Sandra Leah. I hope I pronounced that properly. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for being a part of this family. All right guys, we're going to dive right into the video. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and hit the subscribe button and the notification bell and the like button. Shout out to all my OG subscribers. Thank you guys and enjoy the video. Love you all. To start off, we're going to be starting off with a basic skirt block, and if you don't know how to make your basic skirt block, go ahead and watch the videos that I've linked in the iCard above as well as in the description box. It's a detailed tutorial showing you how to draft a skirt pattern. So we have the center front. We're going to go ahead and duplicate that while it's on fold, just like we'll do our normal fabric. So I ran out of pattern paper, but I went to get scrap fabric or scrap paper and I folded it into two, as you can see, and then I placed like my pattern on it. The whole essence is so that we can cut out the paper and then we can have it like a whole full front piece, right? And the reason why I'm doing that is so that I can do the design that I want on the skirt piece. So again, you want to make sure that you're using your paper scissors. You want to pin it in place. You want to use your tracing wheel to trace out the dart, and you want to make sure that you cut out the skirt so that it's exact like the pattern. Again, the reason why it's on fold is so that I can get out the design that I want on the skirt. So everything is done on the pattern. Now at the bottom, you mark where you want the slit to be. If you want it higher, you can mark it higher. If you want it lower, you can mark it lower. I marked mine about 6 inches from the hem, and yeah, I have it. As I said earlier guys, I'm sorry at the state of this paper because I ran out of pattern paper, so I had to make do with whatever paper I could find at home, and this is what I have. So go ahead and mark the center front, mark the side front, mark out your dots that you should have traced with the tracing wheel, and label appropriately. Also mark out the parts that you have for the slit, which is where I kind of just marked out. Now the next thing we want to do is we want to figure out how long you want the slash and spread or the kind of pleats to be. So I decided I wanted it to be about 9 inches, and I just went ahead to draw curves from one end to the other end. Now I don't know if you guys noticed, but on the right side the curves are lower, right? And there's no rule to this, it's very discretionary. Just go ahead and do like your lines. You can do curves, you can do slant lines, whatever you want. I decided to do curves because I wanted it to kind of like give that effect in front of by my hip side. So that's why I wanted to do it, and I decided that on the left side it will be shorter. After doing that, we're going to go ahead and close your darts like I'm doing now. So just close your darts in place, making sure the longer dart leg is over the shorter one, and you can hold it in place with some paper tape, which is what I'm doing now. After closing the dart, here's what it should look like. And I don't know if you guys can notice, but the skirt is not, or the pattern is not laying flat anymore. That's because a pattern is 2D. When you introduce darts and all these dimensions, it becomes like 3D, like the human body. And obviously it doesn't lay flat. Go ahead and slash through the lines. And as you slash, you'll notice that it eases the tension and the pattern becomes flat once again. This is called the slash and spread method. And what this does is sometimes it can be used for designs, it can be used to introduce fullness to a garment, and it's a very versatile method. I love it so much. And if you guys want like more tutorials on slash and spread, let me know in the comment section below and I'll be happy to do some more tutorial. Now to make this effective, go ahead and get like some paper, put it underneath, and we're going to just paste it as shown. Like I said guys, I didn't realize that I ran out of pattern paper. I had ordered some more pattern paper, but it didn't arrive in time for this video at the time I was making it. So I literally just had to make do with whatever scrap paper I could find. So go ahead and use paper tape or masking tape, and then tape your slashed pieces onto another paper. Make sure that they flow naturally, they're at ease and they are kind of evenly distributed if you would, if you prefer that. One quick point to say is when you're cutting your slashing spread or when you're slashing the lines, make sure you don't cut through, make sure you don't cut to the end, just cut it as close as possible. So I'll say about 1.5 centimeters to the end so that it doesn't mistakenly cut as well. And as you notice, when you're spreading, kind of make sure it's as even as possible, except you want it to be intentionally uneven. And I don't know if you noticed, I had like a part like really large. It wasn't really intentional because I didn't pay that much attention to it, but it wasn't like it was that bad as well. So go ahead and add some more paper and continue spreading as shown. And it always helps to put paper tape. If you feel like pinning is better for you, you can pin, but I also prefer paper tape. Also, it's important to note that you want some paper sticking out at the end, and I'll show you the reason why that's important when I'm working on it, or I'll kind of highlight the reason. Now, after spreading it out and using masking tape, go ahead and close it in place. And as you can see, I'm closing it in place by folding pleats just so that it's back to the original shape that it had. After doing that, you also want to hold it in place with your pin or paper tape, and also use your tracing wheel. So I don't know, as you can see, I kind of folded the first one and now I'm on the second one. Hold it in place with a pin just to make sure it's in place, and use a tracing wheel. Now, a tracing wheel is important because it allows you to know how you're going to cut the fabric and also tuck in the pleats or the folds in the seam allowance, right? And it's important to tuck that in. So as you can see here, another pleat, tuck in the seam allowance, and just keep doing that until you're done folding all the pieces. And like I said, make sure you run through with your tracing wheel. What this does is that this allows you to tuck in the pleats, and as you can see, I went ahead to cut it as well. Now, after cutting, I went ahead to cut off the excess, and this is what it looks like. We have our skirt literally. If not because you guys knew that I slashed it, you probably wouldn't know, but this is what the skirt looks like. It's back to normal. So these are the pieces of fabric and materials I'll be using. Go ahead and then open it up as shown, and now we're going to go ahead and cut out the fabric. So I've tried to zoom out my camera as much as possible so you guys can get a good view. So at the bottom, I marked the curved part, and that's for the slit. And I did the slit this way because I didn't want any joining. It was a lazy method for me. It was a cop out, but you know what, guys, I'm not even complaining. Go ahead and lay your fabric flat. You want the right side on facing you. That means the wrong side is facing the table. And the reason why we're doing that is because this will not be cut on fold. It will actually just be cut one piece straight. And that's because we've actually opened up the pattern. I don't know if you guys remember, but we have the full skirt front. Now go ahead and lay the pattern on the fabric, and you have to make sure that the pattern is straight at the hem. And I say straight at the hem because it's impossible for it to be straight at the top because of the slash and spread, so it's a bit distorted at the top. However, the hem should be straight, and I know it doesn't look straight in this video, but guys, trust me, it was straight. Now go ahead and mark out all your allowances. I recommend an allowance of 1/2 inch of 1 inch rather along the side seam, which is what I'm marking. So along all the places where you have the slash and spread, I recommend 1 inch. At the top where the waist goes, I recommend 1/2 inch. At the other side seam, I recommend 1 inch. And at the hem, obviously you want to take it to the desired length that you want. So again, this is a very long gown, so mark the desired length that you want. If you want yours as a short gown, go ahead and mark the short length. However, like I said, this is like literally floor length, so mark your desired length. Around the slits, I'll recommend a sewing allowance of 1/2 inch, which is what I recommend, and that's because I have a serger and I just wanted to like finish the ends and then kind of just hem it in, or use like the hemming web to take it in. But if you don't have that and you feel like you might want to use a facing, that could be a good alternative, using a facing. However, in this video, like I said, I use my serger and I just use the hemming web. After cutting the front piece, it's time to cut the back piece. So the back piece, you cut it as normally, So basically fold your fabric into 2 as shown, place the back piece on it, pin it in place, mark out the desired length. The length should match with the front piece, and then mark out the sewing allowances. So on the back piece, you have 1 inch around the center back, 1 inch around the side back, 1/2 inch around the waist, and then obviously mark out the desired length, including the hemming allowance. After marking out the allowance for the back piece, go ahead and cut out the pieces as shown, and this is what it should look like. So at this point, all our pieces for like the skirt has been cut out. And in case you didn't know, this video is the first part, and in this video we're going to be really working on the skirt, and then obviously in the next video we'll be working on the top part or the bustier. So now we're going to cut out the lining. Now for the lining, you want to fold your lining into two, and there's no need for your lining to be long. It only needs to be as long as the slit, otherwise it's going to be sticking out and showing, and we don't want that. So go ahead and mark out the desired length for the lining based on the length that you have for the slit, and then go ahead and pin the pattern in place. Now I don't know if you guys noticed, but for the front piece I was using the actual front pattern, not the one that I slashed and spread, and that's because there's no need for the slash and spread on the lining. So pin the pattern onto the lining, and then, you know, for the side back you don't need to add any allowance because there's already allowance on the main fabric. However, for the side front, as you notice, I'm adding the allowance to the lining because I am cutting with the fresh lining. I like to mark up my dart so that I can mark it in place and notch it. Now let's get to sewing. Go back to the main front piece, and as you can see, for this front piece I am marking where the slash and spread bits meet. So for each one I'm just marking, use the marker that will show, but also very lightly, just marking the beginning and the end of each slash and spread line or each slash and spread piece. And this is important because it will help me to know how to fold each piece or tuck each piece in. So go ahead and take out the pins after doing that, and then we're going to go ahead and pleat as shown. So again, make sure you mark it first. Now after marking, I don't know if you guys can see the dots, but the dots are right there, so it helps me know how to fold it. You fold the end of one to the beginning of another one, just like that. So you just keep folding all the way and hold it in place with pins as well. Now after folding, if this is done properly, you should have the side looking correct. You should have it looking okay. As you can see, it was sticking out first, but I went ahead to adjust it, and now this is what it looks like. Now it's not ironed in place, so it doesn't look really nice at the moment, but go ahead and stitch it together with your sewing machine. And of course I'm using my Janome machines. Shout out to Janome, they're absolutely amazing, and they sent me these machines. I have the HD9 heavy duty, and my favorite part of it is the automatic bobbin threader. It is so good. So go ahead and sew that in place with a stitch, and you can just sew it on, you know, 3/4 of an inch or half an inch, just so that you can hold the pleats in, you know, in shape. After doing that, this is what it looks like. So I went ahead to do 2 stitches really, just because I wanted to hold it in place, but you know, it's up to you. You can do 1 stitch or you can do 2 stitches, it doesn't really matter. But this machine is so good, and it's such a professional machine. It gives a professional finish, so I was very happy with the results. After securing the pleats in place with a stitch, here is what it looks like. So it looks really nice. Now the next thing to do is to use a serger or overlocker to finish off all the ends, and I do this before sewing the pieces together because it gives the best results. So I'm using my Air Threader Janome machine. It's the Air Threader 2000D by Janome, and it gives it a really nice finish, and I just go ahead to do this all the way through. So after doing that, as you can see, I went ahead to overlock all the ends, and this gives the best professional finish in my opinion. And I did this for each piece, like I said first. So I went ahead to finish off the slit area, and like I said, it was just a small curve that I did for the slit, and just used like the hemming web to kind of iron it on and just fold it in place. And the reason why I can get away with this is because I had, like, you know, the serger or the overlocker, whatever you want to call it, and that just gives it the neatest finish, if I can say so myself. So it's really easy finish. The alternative to this, if I didn't have a serger, would have been using facing, and that would have been a little bit more work, but obviously it's also very neat result. As far as it's neat, I'm all for neatness. So after ironing the hemming web onto it, I decided to iron my pleats in place, and I also got a steamer, but I don't think I ended up using the steamer because I think on the day I was actually rushing. Anyway guys, so at this point, this is what the skirt looks like. Now we're going to get the back pieces, and the first thing you want to do is you want to notch the center back area so you don't mistake it, and also mark your dart. Now after marking your dart on the wrong side, you also want to notch the dart, and that's the way I sew my dart. So I have a notch and I just sew it up until the marked point, but whatever works for you, go ahead and do that. So go ahead and sew the dart, and I'm going to be doing this on the lining piece as well as on the main fabric. And also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but also from the center back piece, you want to leave 8 inches from the top. You want to leave 8 inches from the top. That's because for the zip allowance, that's going to be space for the zip allowance. And then from that 8 inches mark, you want to sew all the way down on 1 inch, which was the allowance that we left, and that's sewing it all the way down. There's no need for a slit here because there's a slit on the front piece. Now after doing that, place the front piece on the back piece so that the right sides are facing each other. Pin the sides together as shown, and then go ahead and mark out the sewing allowance of 1 inch. You're going to do this for this side that has the slit, and you're also going to do it for the other side as well. After doing that, sew it on 1 inch as shown, and when you have the slit, just stop there, and then on the other side you're going to sew it from the waist all the way down. After doing that, you're going to repeat the same thing for the main for the lining as well. Alright guys, so after sewing, here's what it looks like. So as you can see with the lining, I left 8 inches around the center back, and then I went ahead to sew it all the way to the end, and I went ahead to hem it as well. And with the main fabric, I repeated the same thing, left 8 inches at the center back for the zipper allowance, and I went ahead to sew the sides all the way to the end. Now for the side that has the slit, you'll notice that obviously I had to stop where the slit was, and that's because that's the best way to do it with a neat finish. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish off the rest of the 1 inch allowance on the back piece by folding it over as shown, and then hemming it with holding it in place with the hemming web. And essentially what this does is this keeps it from flapping while you're walking or just, you know, looking like a mess. It just makes it all nice and tidy. And I think this, you know, tutorial was really easy. We've come to the end of it. It might be a bit difficult, but you know, keep persisting and you'll get it. It might be a bit more hard as well because of the kind of fabric. I'm working with a fabric called Duchess silk. However, I believe in you guys and you guys have got this. Don't forget to watch part 2 next week where I show you how to make the top part of it. Thank you so much guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was worth your while. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.